Um, Good day, everyone. My name is Dennis Williams. Sorry for the noise in the background. Um, okay. Am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but your voice is echoing. Please, you can mute your other device.
Okay, I'm
Thank you.
coming. Okay, is it better now?
Your voice is still echoing. Honestly.
Okay, good day, everyone. Sorry about the echo. I'm trying to rectify it, but it seems not to be working. Um, we are welcome to today's class. This is the second week for the program, and we'll just be going straight into section. Okay. So we'll be taking a few announcements. But before we do that, my name is Dennis Williams. I'm your moderator for today. Okay, so
While
Gypsy.
you are reading out while you are sharing the screen, let me do the announcements because your voice is echoing and I think it's disturbing what you are saying.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of Jiipcc Mentorship and Internship program. My name is Hussein. I'm the backup moderator for today, and with here is Dennis, who is the moderator. Good evening, Professor Andrew Samai. He has been on the call. He's one of our mentors for today. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for joining us today. So jumping in, we'll be taking a few announcements. We all know registration for the program is still currently ongoing for this quarter, and this is the fourth quarter of the Jiipcc Mentorship and Internship program on IP. We also have other courses we are taking, like AI, FinTech, Energy, Health Tech and Law, Data Privacy and Protection, Entertainment, Business and Law. But today we'll be having 4 mentors with us on the call today. We can see Professor Samuel is on the call with us. Let me see if we still have another mentor. Thank you very much, all our mentees, for joining the call early. Mr. Dennis, please, you can share the screen while I read the mentor's profile. Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. I can see your screen. Our first mentor for today, as we all know, the topic for today is IP for creative and inventors. Our first mentor for today is Ms. Zerona Duke Phillips. Zerona Duke Phillips is an alumna of the University of Pennsylvania Carrier School of Law and the New York Film Academy. With certificates in filmmaking and producing, Zerona Duke Phillips is a New York bar and Nigerian bar certified attorney, possessing varied experience in intellectual property law, art, media, and entertainment law, and project finance. She has advised on diverse transactions from multi-million dollar infrastructure projects and transcontinental financial acquisitions to music licensing, film and theater production, trademark and copyright protection and enforcement. As a songwriter and filmmaker, she has a unique perspective and understanding of the creative aspect, as well as the business of entertainment. She uses this perspective in advising and advocating for her clients in various IP and entertainment industry. Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Verona, if she's on the call. Let's all welcome our first mentor today. Our second mentor for today is Mr. Max Ikongwe. Max Ikongwe is a founder, principal of Everlaw Associates. He works extensively in the field of arbitration, ICT technology law, and intellectual property. Max is a facilitator on the annual Information Technology and the Law course of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies since 2016. He has trained in Advanced Intellectual Property Law course at the WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization Academy, and he is an accredited agent of the Nigerian Trademark and Patent Registry and has conducted IP registration of business since 2010. That's our second mentor for today. Welcome to the call. Mr. Dennis, you can, okay, thank you. So, please, the person that is complaining, if you can hear me, please indicate if you can hear me. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So our third mentor for today is Sakari Wadie. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. Sakari is the managing partner, G Law Firm, Lagos, Nigeria, intellectual property specialist and mentor, advertising law, press law, media law, entertainment law consultant. One minute, please. Okay, corporate and commercial lawyer, legal advisor, founder at IP radio station, Nigerian Premier Intellectual Property Radio Station, convener of Premier IP workshop on advertising and media in Nigeria, IP RAM 2019. International Intellectual Property Conference 2020, media advertising and integrated communication experts, business developer and business growth specialist, certification in media enterprise, School of Media and Communication, Pan Atlantic University, Lagos, Nigeria, certificate in law, business management, strictly law, business, academic sales, leadership training, facilitator, Faith Foundation, entrepreneurship enterprise. Digital Public Relation Ambassador, Lagos State, Nigeria. Chapter of NIPR. Thank you very much. You can share the other mentors profile. Yeah, Professor Samuel Samai Andrews is our final mentor for today. Professor Samuel Samai Andrews is a member of the faculty at Yamaha University College of Law, Al-Khobar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He is also a US ambassador, distinguished scholar, and professor of intellectual property law. He holds an SJD degree from Suffolk University Law School, Boston, United States of America, an LLM in intellectual property law and policy from the University of Washington, Seattle, United States, an LLM in international law and jurisprudence, and an LLB Hons from the University of Uyo, Nigeria, a former managing partner of ZFC Law, Zeal First Fruits Chambers, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. He was also formerly professor of intellectual property law at the University of Gondar School of Law, Ethiopia. Thank you very much for joining us today. We spent so much time in welcoming our mentor and also in announcements. Our last mentor for today, Miss Nirvana Talk. Nirvana Talk is entrepreneur, intellectual property rights, and affair executive, offering 26 plus years of law firm and in-house corporate experience combined. Instrumental in mitigating risks, building organizational capacity, driving optimization, and securing multi-million-dollar deals. Our experience in partnering closely with C-level executives on a wide range of legal compliance, operational finance, employment, and strategic business matter. Enterprise in licensing, acquiring, and enforcing intellectual property rights related to platform leverage business, acumen, and legal expertise to drive growth while resolving complex issues within high energy and fast-paced environments. Represented clients in commercial litigation, transactions, and intellectual property matters across a wide range of industries in the Gulf nation. Thank you very much for joining us, all our mentors on today's call. We're so happy to have our mentors, so many mentors here with us today, and we hope to learn so much from our mentors. I can see Ms. Zerona is on the call. Professor Andrew is already on the call also. I'll be calling on Professor Andrews to take the floor from here. Our topic for today is IP for creative and investors.
Good evening, Nigeria. Hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud and clear.
I just shared, let me share what I have here. If I can find it. Okay. Okay, I think it's in, yeah. Well, if anyone needs, I read one of the, I think one of the presentation from the mentees, and there was a question about resources. So at the end of this presentation, I included some resources which are free. Maybe a lot of you don't know about it. They are free. IP resources are actually, there's a lot of copyright issues, restrictions, and closed sources. You need about $3,000 to publish an open source material. And these publishers, they need to make money. So most of those resources I quite understand. It's sad. You might not have free access, but I've decided to give you on my page because I have certain liberties. There are certain, especially my works, that you can access for academic purposes. Oh, I have to stop this thing from pulling the outside operation. Anyway, so I'm going to do a short talk about, I frame it IP for creators and inventors. So we know all the definitions, so I'm not going to dwell too much on the definitions, but I'm going to deal specifically with strategies. IPs, we have a lot of IPs now, and we keep evolving the IPs, breaking them down. But I'll be focusing strictly on a few ones here, the traditional ones, patent, copyright, trademarks, trade secrets, design, and geographical indications. Why am I doing this? Because I think if we get the basics, the foundational traditional IP, we will be able to delve and deep dive into the new evolving IPs that is as a result of the digital era, meaning the technologies that have involved and that have interfaced with IP. So Nigeria is doing well in terms of their laws. Their laws are changing, and there are thoughts of changing the laws. We knew about copyright 2022, the new law on copyright, and there's talk to amend patents and trademark laws. But we still have not gotten our geographical indications, and there are talks on it too. So as an IP practitioner or as an IP scholar, what should you think? How should you think when you create? When we talk about creation, we know that that's the territory of copyright. And when we talk about invention, we should realize that that's in the territory of patent, invention, patent, technology, what I call the IP identity laws, trademarks, GIs, and the rest. So you have to realize, first of all, that which IP law should be your focus. And at times, your creation or your invention might need multiple strategies, meaning, for instance, software. Softwares now can be protected by patent and can also be protected by copyright. And good enough, Nigerian law recognizes software as all the computer programs to be as part of the works that copyright protects. So that is the first thing I would suggest you do. But again, IP as a whole, the traditional school of thought, IP was looked at as a social activity. I mean, you create, the state rewards you with exclusive protection for a certain period of time so that you can give knowledge or give the society benefits of your creation or your invention. Yes, but the reality today is that IP is more economic, what I call the romantic and the realist. So the romantics, the author who loves create, who loves to write, who loves to make movies, and or the inventor who likes to invent things for society to benefit from, comes back to the common market, goes to the same supermarket, wants to send the kids to school, good school, and it costs money. So now, as a creator, as an inventor, what should be your focus? What should be your strategy? Of course, the strategy should be to use these regimes, these IP laws, to make your work utilitarian, benefit society, but also to keep you alive so that you keep on creating and keep on inventing. Especially now that we have the machines. The machines have totally changed the landscape of creativity and innovation. You know, we talk about AIs, we talk about the machines, tools, and all that. So you have to understand, you have to know the first principles of IP, which is who owns it, what you are going to create, what you are going to innovate, who owns you or the third party that you might go into relationship with to enable you to have the means to bring it to the market. Now, the current Nigerian copyright law, section 1 really makes us realize that IP is not just about utilitarian purposes. You see, if you look at, I just cited it here now, section 1A talks about rewards. I mean, what's rewards? We're talking about money, simple. We're talking about consideration, if you are lawyers, which boils down to dollar, cents, and naira. So I especially my research that focuses on the global south, I tend to focus on how the global south, meaning those of us from this part of the planet, should use our IP like the northern hemisphere has been using it for a long time, to use it to develop ourselves and develop our society. So when we are talking about IP, we should not be looking at IP from the abstract and text level of it. We should try looking at IP from the realistic point of view, the bread and butter point of view. How do we use our IPs to make Nigeria a global power, to make Nigeria a creative force, to make Nigeria where our entertainment, Nollywood, will be taken from the middle pedestrian level now to really compete with Bollywood and Hollywood. So you see, we also have to know the nitty-gritties and the nuances, the legal issues that concerns creativity. You know, Nigeria has the sweat of the brow. Before your work, before your movies, before your book can have the benefit of copyright, you know that there is certain basic requirement that the law requires. I mean, we have the sweat of the brow, which is what Nigeria still operates on right now. I hope the courts will expand it because there are certain provisions of the new copyright law that has also recognize what I call the author's intellectual creation, which is the standard in the European Union. The InfoPact case introduced what they call the author's intellectual creation. And you know, in the United States, the standard of eligibility, originality, as, from the first case, is what the United States Supreme Court calls selective creation. So those are the things we should address ourselves to. And what about when it has to do with invention? You have to go back. And as a lawyer, as a scholar, or as a practitioner, most of the time you have to also realize that not everything you invent can be protected by patent law, especially Nigerian patent. I mean, there are basic requirements of the law, what you know as patentability rules, that it has to be novel, it has to have inventive steps, it has to be industrially applicable, and the issues of prior acts, that is, it shouldn't have been invented or it shouldn't have been there, that those in that field would have recognized it. So those are issues also as in case you want to advise or you want to bring your product into the market, you have to address your mind into. You also have to address your mind into, because most of the creators, sorry, are not deep pockets. That means, especially in areas of patent or technology devices, you might not have the wherewithal after you conceptualize your idea, take it to the laboratory and bring it as a product, the widget into the market. You will need collaboration. You will need to go into relationship with people. Think about the kind of strategy. Is it going to be a license, exclusive license? Is, what kind of contractual arrangement that you have to go into? Well, if you are lucky or if you are endowed enough that you can take the loan, fair enough. And also, you still need to think about the contractual relationship. with your end users, what platforms you're going to sell it or distribute it, and all that. So one thing again I want us to address your mind to, which is just developing, is that because of technology, because of the digital era and all, IP seems to merge equities, seems to merge equalities, trying to equalize the earning powers of perhaps the advanced economies and the evolving economy. You will see that in the Beijing Treaty, which has now become part of Nigerian law, that performance now have been recognized. Any kind of performance, especially in the audio visual platform, which Nollywood is really, really using very well. Before now, performance were not as an art was not recognized as worthy of IP. But now we realize that, Mofreda Mijo as an art can be protected. Who is another popular artist in Nigeria? Somebody like Kate Henshaw, a performance could attract copyright itself, protection under IP. But so I want you, it's not well developed because it just came out, the laws just came out. So it's going to fall on you, the mentees, to see how you could advise the policymakers in Nigeria to concretize and make it into reality, how I can use those skills as a performer distinctively from the script itself or from the movie itself as a copyright asset. Now, that's the notes I've set out there are the resources, but if you can't see it well, I can send you might not send the whole PowerPoint, you don't have copyright. I'm still working on certain things there. So I might send the last notes for you. My page, my academia page is free. You just have to register. There are a lot of free resources you can get there for those who don't have much access to resources. So in conclusion, so I want you to see an IP as a business. I want you to see this IP as a tool that you can use to get to where you want to get to. It's the oxygen that you can use to become who you want to become. Whether as an advisor to a government, to a corporate body, IP, yes, it's a non-tangible thing, but it also could be tangible. Thank you. While I wait to listen to the good stuff that is going to happen here, I wish you well.
Thank you very much, sir, for that presentation, Professor Samuel Andrews. We'll be calling on our next mentor to come and give us, to come and deliver our section. But before we do that, I would like to encourage all our mentees to turn on their videos so that we can see their lovely and their beautiful faces. While we wait for you guys to do that, we'll be calling on our next mentor, Ms. Zerona Phillips. Please, if you're on the call, you can take over now.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hate to start off with this, but I've just had an emergency occur, and so I actually have to leave the call right now. I am incredibly sorry. Sorry, I'm almost like panting because it's very unexpected. However, I will share my very detailed presentation with you all, and hopefully, I'll try and record it so that I can speak through it as well, so that it's almost like I was here. But I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. But I'll share that with you right away so that you'll have that tonight. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. We understand, Ma. Thank you for everything you do for us, Ma.
It's my pleasure. I'm terribly sorry, but thank you for understanding, and I'll share that with you right away. Okay.
All right. Since Ms. Zeruna has to go, we'll be calling on our next mentor, Mrs. Navana Talk. Yes, ma. Are you with us, ma?
Yes. Hello, how are you? Because
we're
I'm
very
talking about the. Okay. Hello, how are you? Hope you are doing very well.
Yes, ma. We are very fine, ma.
Nice to meet you all today. Yeah. Okay. Let's return to the question because I have some comments here concerning the question from the mentees. Okay. This subject is very interesting for me, the fashion especially. I like it very much and have many research in this subject concerning the fashion, the designs, and all of this. So concerning the first question, which is can fashion items be considered as artistic copyright or pattern design, or which part of fashion items can be desired can be considered as artistic copyright or design patent? No, I see that fashion items, it's the most important fashion item is design. Yeah. Les dessins industriels, comme on dit en français, يعني. The design, because it's something mentally. It need mind thought. So this is how to say, like we said in French, crème de la crème is the best, how to say, the fruit of our thoughts about fashion design. This is the design, yeah. How to mix the colors, how to have new products in design each season for people or for ladies, yani. So I think this is artistic copyright, not a design pattern. Okay. Concerning the second one, one software programs are created to solve a problem. Are software codes literary copyright works or utility patent work? I have make a search, and I think this is from my point of view, the Excel sheet is very creation idea since long time ago. We use it, but there is updates طبعا up in time, and it solves a lot of problem in accounting, even in data analytics, in all our business. So it's very important to use the Excel sheet, and especially the updates one. Concerning the third question, can you recommend any research tool? Yes, especially for learners, because one of my group members complains that resources on internet are not much. Yes, I suggest four websites that are very helpful for learners and students, especially Deep Dive. Okay, Dive with Y. Okay, Bingo, RefWorks, and Algolia. Algolia is AI tool, okay, which is very useful in our time. Okay, this is concerning the question. Concerning the presentation, yeah, just a minute, I have to open it. Yes. Concerning the subject of intellectual property for creative, it's very really creative work that I appreciate it very well. And I present here, I think Miss Fatima, yeah? No, yes. I think the lady, she's a lady, yeah, who presented. She make a good comparison between intellectual property and creative works, and there is a relationship for طبعا 100% between both of them, because creativity is intellectual property at the end, and creativity is like, how to say, it's a big part, important part in the intellectual property, even in copyright, in trademarks, in patents, in all fields, and all fields of intellectual property. Okay, which are related at the same time with technology. Yeah. And then she discussed about the film, movie, and the musical, and maybe songs also, and visual arts. I like this slides about the visual arts, very interesting. Discuss about copyright and And here I have a special story, because at the same time we have a lot of art in our country, in Egypt. And 10 years ago, there is one singer which is very famous. He's called Abdelrahim Hafiz. And he's well known in romantic songs, okay? And he participated in many movies also, but he's a singer. At the end, he is a singer, okay? And after his death, maybe 15 years old, yes, okay? His family tried to collect all his arts and visual arts and movies, songs, all of this. But there is infringement which was happened by another director in the cinema also. And this director has a relationship with his family, okay? But they didn't have the awareness to protect his art, his IP rights at all at that time, since the 15 or 20 years ago. So they discovered that there is infringement, and they use his songs in many places, many other Arab countries also. And they mix the sounds, you know, they change in the meaning and the words by the artificial intelligence, you know, because now the artificial intelligence can make many change in the art or the intellectual property at all. So it was like a catastrophe, really, because they changed the meaning, the songs, and they have another direction, you know. So it was a big case, tribunal case, which takes more than maybe 7 to 9 years until it was solved. But it takes time, and many relatives, people who enter in this case. And from this time, there is some restriction and some new rules and regulations was put, especially with songs and cinema, movies, and all of this, because it was this heritage is our heritage, and there is infringement on this heritage. So, from my point of view, it's my advice to all people, or all people interested in this subject, in this cinema art, visual arts, all of this copyright and related rights at the same time. We should take care of our heritage songs. Even the old people, they don't have the awareness to protect their IP right, but we should take care of this. As intellectual property people who study, who care, who are interested, even I have a master, I don't have a master, even my subject, but my role, it's very important here. It's to take care and protect and ask. Even it's not my IP right, but I have to protect this rights, because it's not repeatable. It's not. It's unique. Very unique. It's very important for students, for all people in all our African countries. We should take care of our heritage, which is stolen by other people. Maybe also some statues which is repeated and make a copy in China, especially. And this was a big problem since many years ago. They tried to make copy of original statues, and it was a big problem at the same time. But finally, after many discussions, conference, and maybe it was a big law case, and it was resolved finally. Okay, thank you. Do you need any question? Do you have any question?
We'll be taking questions, Ma, towards the end of the section. So any other directed to you, Ma. Thank you for that section.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be going ahead and inviting our next mentor. It's Mr. Nosa on call. I don't know if it's here, but sir, if you are on call, please, sir, you can take the stage now, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. It's a pleasure meeting with you. I don't know if you hear me, but I can't really hear you clearly. I've tried to make that supplication earlier, but I don't know what the challenge is. But I don't know if you can hear me clearly. Can you?
Yes, sir, we can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay, so I would want to delve. I like to discuss I always like to discuss the business side of intellectual property because part of the critical issues we have with IP is that even though it is ubiquitous, that is, it reaches every aspect of our lives. I mean, what we are using now is governed by IP. The Zoom has an intellectual property protection against it. Our television sets, everything around us has our phones, everything around us has some form of branding, has some form of ownership, has some form of identity. And that basically is what IP represents. It's just simply a creation of the mind. Whatever your mind creates, IP tends to gamete it such that you can reap financial benefit from it. What is the point creating or innovating or inventing when you cannot derive financial benefit from it? So IP is that aspect of law that gives your creativity or your innovation or your invention a toga to yield financial results to you and to your head. Yes. To also say that IP is such that ordinarily should guarantee you a very good means of livelihood. I will dwell more on IP for the creatives because that is an industry that I do a lot of business with, and I've also been part of that industry for a long time. And really, what are we talking about? Everything around us was created. So, I mean, what we are enjoying today is a product of creativity. But I like to discuss how people that are in the creative industry or people engaged in creativity can actually monetize their efforts. That has always been the crux of the matter. I mean, you talk about IP, but we don't really see the translation. So I've had to do quite a lot of work. And creativity basically covers areas like theater, dance, performance, architecture, advertising, marketing. It covers several areas of human activity, almost every other thing we get involved in. So I don't want to spend too much time on looking at the key components of intellectual property. I'll just run through them: trademarks, patents, copyrights, industrial designs, trade secrets, and all that. I mean, our speakers earlier have defined some of them, so I don't want to go into that. I'll just say, okay, if I'm a creative person, how do I make money from my creativity? That is actually what would concern me. And I'll say that I normally put that in two layers anytime I make presentation on that. I say there are two key layers by which you approach this. The first thing is the one you have to do yourself, and the second one is the one you have to probably collaborate with others to ensure that you're able to derive financial benefit. IP is protection, is a protection tool. So as a creative person, for example, if I'm a script writer, I was just going through something today and I saw something, an advert or something like that on LinkedIn asking for a YouTube script writer. So there are actually jobs or vocations that are beginning to go deep down into the nitty-gritty like that. So if you're a script writer, for example, the first thing is that you must protect your creative output. And I always tell people that, as far as I'm concerned, once that activity leaves your head and gets into a fixed medium, as provided for with respect to copyright in terms of authorship, originality, and ownership, the moment it leaves your head into a WhatsApp chat or a voice note or a computer or a laptop or a CD or any device that is adaptable or copyable or whatever, if you don't have protection over it, immediately you are beginning to lose revenue. Yes, copyright is automatic, but then the truth is that I personally advocate that if you have created something, I always advocate that you should go and do the copyright registration so that you avoid this who did it first. And if I have the time, I will go through some of these things with you and you'll begin to see that it makes more sense to register your copyright. For example, let me take you to a process. I'm a script writer. So the first thing is that I have transported my script into my laptop. The first thing you need to do, like I will advise from a commercial perspective, is give copyright notice. Let everything that you have show that you have the copyright and go one step ahead and do the registration. Secondly, don't transmit that to anybody at all without an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. In that way, you are able to ensure that, and don't use generic non-disclosure agreements. I think it's a bit funny that people just copy and paste. Do an NDA that speaks directly to your document, to your script, to the particulars of your script. And stop people like the copyright does, basically, restricts people from using your creativity without your permission, whether in form of adaptation or whatever, performance and every other thing. It's embedded in our copyright, whether for literary, sound recording, cinematography, and all that stuff. So having done an NDA, then you can, like I always tell people, and I've had it practically, you can actually sell, you can actually sell your scripts. I've met a lot of people who are not even interested in producing. They are not interested in producing, they are not interested in doing any other thing. They are professional script writers, whether for books, whether for video, whether for audio, for anything, or for film. And so, as a creative person, you can just stop there and just produce scripts and sell. So you have now copyrighted your scripts, you are now selling it. The question is that, does your rights end there? No. You have moral rights on it that nobody can actually say that you are not the owner. I mean, for as long as that thing is used in public, you'll be giving credit as the originator. And I always tell people, especially creative people, that they should be very eager to go into agreements with producers and other people that might want to exploit that. Because even if you sell it, or I mean, you sell it, depending on your agreements with whoever you are dealing with and your negotiations, you still have a right, if you are intelligent enough and you're able to negotiate very well, to still negotiate some royalties. For example, I have somebody who is a scriptwriter for a song that I'm working on, and the person is negotiating with the producer and is getting into an agreement that, yes, does not stop the person from at least still getting some royalties from the proceeds of our labor. Who knows whether the song is going to be the next biggest item in Nigeria very soon, or the world. When Rema was producing Calm Down in Nigeria, he never knew it was going to be top 5 in America. So that small dance you are doing in one corner, that small performance you are doing in one corner, that small identity that you are creating for yourself, like you are creating Oin, you are creating who does that, you are creating all these things. They might look very small to you, but that's where your bread and butter is. And that distinguishing factor, that thing that distinguishes you in the marketplace, those are things that you should be looking at. And they happen at the early stage of your creative process. If you think them through, and you know that you want to make money from them, and you know that you want to make them a business. So I always tell creative people, build, it's not your script per se or your creativity that makes money. What makes money is turning it into an asset. It is turning your creativity into a business. It is the business side of your creativity that actually makes money. There are not 1 million people that dance. There are more million people that can write scripts. There are more million people that can do content. But how do you package your content in a way that makes commercial sense for now and in the future? So having said that, personally, you protect your creative endeavor, output, you sign proper agreements that still enables you to enjoy the fruit of your labor. Then let's go to the second type. The second type now is that you have produced it. Let's say you have gone ahead to produce it. You have gone ahead to make a film from it. You have gone ahead to make a drama of it. You have gone ahead to make something from it. What are the other ways you can begin to enjoy? You can sign up with collective management societies such that they can manage, for example, if it's audio, if it's music and everything, you can get royalties from them, having done the production, or having collaborated with the producer to do the production, and you still have some rights to it. You can, even now, as an independent person, musician or artist, you can actually just jump on and load your contents on digital streaming platforms like Spotify and all of that. And then you can begin to make money from downloads and begin to do promotions around it. You can also license it in the sense that you can license it to particular territories for a particular duration and still hold the rights to such. You can decide to work on that so that for some time you will still control your rights and licenses. You can do franchising. For example, if you are very good, you can. I always use Tara. I'll conclude in the next few minutes. I always use Tara, for example. Tara is a fashion, a makeup, a school. That's how she started. But Tara created a brand, which is very key for anybody in a creative industry. You create a brand for yourself, a distinct brand with symbols and everything. And Tara, a lot of people bought the Tara makeup brand. They got used to it. They wanted it, but Tara cannot be everywhere. So what did she do? she franchised it such that she manages the process, the same process that has worked for her. She uses those process and works with all those people that she had franchised to all over Nigeria. And they use her symbols, they use everything as if it is the original Tara. And that basically is the process of franchising. You use what the franchisor has as a business process to manage yours and deliver the same output. You can assign in the sense that you can say, okay, I really don't want to have anything to do with what I've created again. Let me assign it out and forgo the rights. For licensing, you'll be paid royalties over time because you still own the rights. But for assignments, which the law says must be in writing, you would need to almost concede your total rights. I mean, most times you just cede off your rights, but for a very good sum of money. So there are actually various options around which you can build your creativity and make a lot of money from it. I'm sure you also know that we can also use IP to secure loans. You can use it to do a lot of things. You can put it in your will. I mean, Celebration today is being celebrated many years after the death of Fela because the family has been able to protect the copyright. And for 70 years after the death of Fela, they will continue to enjoy the benefits. And so you have Celebration Broadway all over the world now. So I would say for the questions directly, yes, you can copyright the artistry if you're a fashion creative person. So that only, then for you can also copyright the source code of any computer application because it's deemed to be literary. But if you have any hardware part of it, you can go for the patent. But for the coding and every other thing, they are deemed literary, and so copyright basically just works for that. So for materials, you can go to wipo.org. I mean, you can't exhaust the materials on WIPO website. You can't exhaust it. I keep going there, and every day I keep seeing various materials. So I think if you're a very studious person and want to grow in intellectual property, wipo.org is where you should spend a lot of your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nusa, for that wonderful section. I want to see our mentees rather comment on and appreciate our mentors that presented. Professor Samuel has dropped some links to some articles in the chat box. You go through, you can open them, copy those links, and after the class, go through them. I'm sure they will be very, very helpful to serve as resource basis as you move in the direction of trying to build a career out of intellectual property. All right, I don't know. We're supposed to have one more mentor, and I'm not sure if he's on the call, Mr. Mark. If Mr. Marks is on the call, please, sir, your time is now. You can come up, sir. Okay, I don't think Mr. Marks is here with us. Since he's not here, we would like to just go straight to our next section, and that is have the presentation by the mentees. So our mentees, after making those presentations that we sent to our mentors, we normally have them come make presentations, 5 to 10 minutes presentation on what they have done. So we would like to call on both groups to come and present their works. We'll be coming on group 1 firstly to come and make a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation on their work. Group 1, if you are ready, you can come and.
We are ready, sir. We're ready, sir.
Please, you go ahead and.
Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Can we hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Ikoni, and I'm from Gupon. Our topic is intellectual property for creatives. And we have the table of contents, introduction, what is intellectual property, meaning of creatives, examples of creative works, relationship between IP and creatives, IP and creative works, contracts and agreements in the creative industry, case study, and conclusion. So creatives are a driving force behind the global industry, shaping our culture and providing us with endless pleasure. These artists, writers, musicians, and creators pour their talent into their work, sharing their unique ideas and innovations with the world. Yet, a pressing question emerges: how can we safeguard the intellectual property of these creatives and ensure they receive the recognition and compensation they deserve? This leads us to our topic, intellectual property for creatives. In exploring this topic, we'll delve into the details of this vital aspect of the creative world, shedding light on the means by which intellectual property can safeguard creativity. And it is important to note that protecting intellectual property is vital for creatives to maintain control over their work, monetize their creations, and safeguard against unauthorized use or copy. What is intellectual property? But as it relates to, it refers to the legal rights that are granted to individuals or organizations for their creations or inventions. Meaning of creatives. The Cambridge Advanced Learners Dictionary defines a creative as someone whose job involves producing original ideas or doing artistic work. Generally, creativity can be seen as innovative works that emanate from a person's ideas, original copied or used without permissions. Examples of creative works, we have literary works, visual arts, dance, film, music, software programs, fashion, broadcast, and comedy. Intellectual property creatives. There has been a consistent rise in businesses and ventures bettered around innovation and creativity. However, as technology advances, so do the threats of intellectual property infringement. Hence, the relationship between the need for protecting intellectual property and creatives cannot be overemphasized. And this relationship shall be examined under the various examples of creative works. And now to the crux of our presentation, which is IP, which is the creative works. And first on our list is IP and literary works. By virtue of Section 108, Top 1 of the Copyright Act, literary works fall within the range of novels, stories, and poetic works, plays, stage directions, audiovisual work scenarios, broadcasting scripts, choreographic works, computer programs, textbook histories, etc. And literary works can be protected via the use of copyright. Next is intellectual property and visual arts. Intellectual property safeguards artists' rights, promotes creativity, and maintains artistic integrity. Intellectual property can protect visual arts via copyright laws. Copyright laws play a huge role by granting artists exclusive rights to their work, preventing others from copying or selling it without permission. IP also covers moral rights. This was mentioned by our last speaker, Mr. Nusa. This means artists can object if their work is distorted or used in a way that damages their reputation. And next on our slide is intellectual property and dance. The dance moves or styles or steps can be protected under various branches of intellectual property rights upon segregation, starting up with its protectability under the Copyright Act 1957. And first into right that reduced into permanent form while indicating the mode by which it should be expressed. So intellectual property can protect dance moves via copyright as elaborated above. Next on our list is on a complex process which involves many different players, and intellectual property rights shape every stage of the filmmaker's journey. There's something one of our speakers mentioned, that is, it is essential for a creative to start from the beginning in protecting his or her intellectual property rights. So films can be protected via copyright laws, contract laws that governs agreements entered into the course of filmmaking. Films can also be protected via trademark, example, movie titles, film elements, and patents. Intellectual property and music. Original music creations can be protected via copyrights, trademarks, and patents. And next on our slide is intellectual property and software programs. So software programs can be protected via trade secrets, trademarks, patents. And next on our slide is intellectual property and fashion. Intellectual property can protect fashion via industrial design, which protects the visual appearance of a product, including its shape, pattern, or ornamentation. Intellectual property and broadcast. Broadcast deals with any work that involves portraying visual or audiovisual works. Section 108 of the Copyright Act defines broadcast works as the means of transmitting wireless sounds or images or both in such a manner as to cause such images or sounds to be received by the public. So intellectual property in broadcasts can be protected under copyright. Next on our slides is intellectual property and comedy. So intellectual property in comedy can be protected via copyright to avoid joke plagiarism, which pertains to the act of borrowing or adopting a comedian's joke without authorization. Contract and agreement in the creative industry. What is a contract? A contract is an agreement or set of promises that give rise to legally binding obligations and rights that are enforceable and recognized by law. Creators should ensure they make a proper written contract when licensing their work, working with employees or employers, or making any agreement with employers or investors in their creatives. So the importance of making a proper contract includes creation of legally binding and enforceable agreements, explicit statements of terms and conditions, as well as rights and duties, documentation of agreements and promises to avoid future disputes on agreed terms, prevention of possible fraud by the other party, and rights to seek legal redress. So an example of a person that lost revenue for failing to protect his IP rights is the case of Carter Bryant. I'm going to read this verbatim. Carter Bryant, the creator of Bratz, was previously employed by Mattel, the manufacturer of Barbie. Time working as Barbie, he came up with the idea of Bratz, sold to the new doll franchise competitor. Mattel sued 2008, claiming that Bryant's idea was stolen intellectual property. NGA countersued, resulting in the two doll manufacturers locking horns. MGA accused Mattel of corporate espionage by having its employees trained in spying on its competitors. on the Heinz patent with a verdict in favor of a company, that lost revenue for failing to protect their intellectual property. An example of a company that succeeded and gained revenue for protecting their intellectual property is the case of Apple versus Samsung. Apple sued Samsung in 2011, claiming that Samsung's Galaxy line of smartphones and tablets infringed on Apple's design patents. The patents in question included the look and feel of the iPhone and iPad, such as the home button and rounded edges. Samsung argued that these design elements were not unique to Apple and that the patents were invalid. The case went to trial in 2012, and the jury found in favor of Apple, awarding them over $1 billion in damages. However, Samsung appealed the decision, and the case is still ongoing. The case turned on the question of whether Samsung smartphones and tablets were substantially similar to Apple's iPhone and iPad. The court used a total concept and field test to determine was too similar. The test was too subjective, and it was unfair to protect certain design elements of a product. Apple, on the other hand, argued that it was important to protect the look and feel. Ultimately sided with Apple on this issue. In the appeal process, the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals vacated the damages award, finding that some of the patents at issue
Your network
in
seems to have
2015, this decision as well as. So in the meantime, the case had a major impact on the Samsung industry and has led to increased attention on design patents and intellectual property. So in conclusion, intellectual property stands as a cornerstone of creative industries on a global scale. It functions as a staunch defender of innovation, artistic expression, safeguarding the hard work, ingenuity, and dedication of countless creatives, and also fosters an environment where new ideas thrive and flourish, ultimately propelling society forward. Thank you. Once again, this is Joy Ikonye from Jiipcc. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joy. It seems you had a little break while you were presenting, but well done all these things. We want to take some reaction from our group member. Our presentation rather was very wonderful. Like I want to see some of her group members make efforts in making that presentation. While we do that, I also want to see group 2 come up make their presentation. Please, you have 10 minutes for the presentation. Thank you. Group 2.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir, we can see the screen.
Okay. Let me put it on slideshow. All right, please go ahead.
Hello everyone. My name is Mariam Abubakar Donguza and I am the presenter for Group 2. So the backup presenter, Mr. Ogene, is the one sharing the screen. Thank you. So I'll be presenting on the topic intellectual property for inventors. Parts of the places that I'm going to be focusing on include what is innovation and invention, how IP is used by innovators in the engineering industry, case studies under that, how IP is used by inventors in the communication industry, case studies under the communication industry, how IP is used by inventors in the medical and pharmaceutical industry, case studies under the medical and pharmaceutical industry, and how IP is used by inventors in you can change the slide now. Thank you. Mr. You can change the slide now.
So I don't know why it's not moving, but I'm moving it.
Okay.
Sorry, let's try again. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can
Okay,
see
yes,
us.
this is
Okay, let's try again.
so innovation is the complex process of taking an idea to the market and analyzing which intellectual property rights apply to ensure your idea remains unique, while inventions, on the other hand, a new solution to a technical problem and can be protected through patents. So essentially, invention is when you completely produce something new, something that has never been done before. For example, now let's get back to the 1900s when phone was invented. So it was an invention then because no one had ever produced anything. But then now, what would categorize as innovation now is the subsequent models of phone that have been produced both by Samsung, Apple, Techno, Infinix, etc. So patent is an IP access that is used to protect inventions and innovations. Patents protect the interests of inventors whose technologies are truly groundbreaking and commercially successful by ensuring that an inventor can control the commercial use of their invention. Yeah, you can change the slide now.
Sorry, I think it's better in this mode. For some reason, it's not moving. So I think I'll leave it on this mode. Can you see? Can you see now?
Okay, all right, okay, no problem. Yes, I can see. Okay. So how is IP used by innovators in the engineering industry? So for engineers, safeguarding intellectual property is crucial and important. They develop groundbreaking designs, technologies, and inventions with transformative potential. By protecting the IP rights, engineers retain control over their creations, preventing unauthorized use or imitation, and enabling effective commercialization. So various types of engineers, such as mechanical engineers, electrical, aeronautical, etc., tend to produce, groundbreaking designs and technologies. And in order for them not to lose their investment or not to lose revenue, they need to be able to protect this IP properly. So when innovation exists, it is crucial to obtain a patent, maintain and defend it. Like I said earlier on, patent is an IP asset that is used by inventors and innovators to protect their work. So if they've created something that is very important and groundbreaking, it is important that they have a patent assigned to it in order to prevent other individuals from illegally using their work or trying to transform their work without their permission. Next slide, please. Okay. So case studies under the engineering industry. So a case study of when IP was used to protect an invention. So in Samsung Electronics Limited versus Apple, it was held that the article of manufacture as used in Patent Act provision governing damages for design patent infringement encompasses both a product sold to a consumer and the components of that product. And components of the infringing smartphones could be the relevant article of manufacture, although consumers should not purchase components separately from the smartphones. And then a case study of when IP was not used to protect an invention is an example of the American superconductor, a Massachusetts-based provider of clean energy solutions. In 2011, this company's customer, China-based Sinovel, ignored the company's contract and refused to pay millions of dollars it owed. American Superconductor then discovered that Sinovel had obtained the source code for its electronic components and was installing a pirated version in wind turbines. The violation of America's superconductors' IP rights and loss of revenue from Sinovel reduced American superconductors revenue by $100 million per year. So essentially, they weren't able to protect their IP properly, and as a result, they lost a huge amount of money that year. Next, please. Okay, so how IP is used in the communication industry. So innovations in communications are protected through trademarks. Trademarks are signs capable of distinguishing the goods or service of one enterprise from those of other enterprises. Trademarks are protected by intellectual property rights. A trademark registration will confer on exclusive right to the use of the trademark. So, for example, now, apps that we use essentially like to communicate, such as Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. They tend to have a trademark. Sometimes the trademark is not registered. Sometimes it is. When it has the sign TM in, I think, superscript form, that means the trademark has not yet been registered. Like it's still undergoing the process. But when it has a letter R, a circle forms superscript, it means that that trademark has been fully registered, and it distinguishes it from other business other communications apps or mediums. So innovators in communication can prevent others from using their brand or product name and logo without permission. So now, for example, the Google logo is a registered trademark. You wouldn't see maybe Microsoft Bing or something using the Google logo because it has been registered and they do not have the right to steal the logo ID and then implement it in their own work. Next slide, please. So cases under the communication industry. So a case study of when IP was used for protection by inventors, Google versus Oracle America in 2021. So when Google implemented its Android operating system, it wrote its own programming language based on Java, which is owned by Oracle. To facilitate developers writing their own programs for Android OS, Google's version used the same names, organization, and functionality as Java's application programming interfaces. Upon reaching the federal circuit, it held that Google's use was not as a matter of law. So Oracle America was able to protect its IP right because the federal court determined that Google wasn't supposed to use Google wasn't supposed to use their Java programming language. So a case study of lack of IP for protection which caused loss in Alice Corp versus CLS Bank International. The issue in the case was whether certain patent claims for a computer implemented electronic escrow service covered abstract ideas, which would make the claims patent protection. The patents were held to be invalid because the claims were drawn to an abstract idea, and implementing those claims on a computer was not enough to transform the abstract idea into patentable subject matter. So you are to maybe register for a patent, it has to be a concrete idea. It can't just be something abstract. It has to be something tangible, not intangible. So next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. How IP is used by inventors in the medical and pharmaceutical industry. Inventors in the medical and pharmaceutical sector rely heavily on intellectual property to protect their innovations and secure a competitive edge in the market. They utilize IP through use of patents, trademarks, etc. So examples of things that the medical and pharmaceutical industry need to protect is maybe when they create a certain drug or maybe a vaccine. So for example, during the COVID 2020, vaccines, started evolving. Different universities, different pharmaceutical companies came up with their own vaccines. An example is the COVID vaccine that was created by RNA, Fiverr, Bio, and that's the name of the vaccine, and also the AstraZeneca by Oxford University. But these vaccines had patents, protected, and then you wouldn't see the AstraZeneca is the same thing as Moderna. These vaccines are different, even though it's to protect us from COVID, it's still different regardless. So next slide, please. The case studies under this, a case study. So to just summarize this, so Pfizer, sorry, is an example of a pharmaceutical company that is known to have protected its intellectual property rights properly using patents to protect its ideas, preventing other pharmaceutical companies from copying it. On the other hand, a a case study where um intellectual property was not protected properly was during Turing Pharmaceuticals under the leadership of Martin Shelley, and this person acquired the rights to let me see acquired the rights to Daraprim, a drug used to treat toxoplasmosis, a parasitic infection that can be life-threatening for individuals with weakened immune system. So what happened was when they acquired the rights to use this drug, they sold the drug at a much higher rate than it's supposed to be sold for. So ideally, a tablet is $15, 50 cents, but then they took it out to $750, which represented an astronomical price hike of over 5,000 percent. This move sparked widespread outrage and condemnation from the public, healthcare professionals, and politicians. The lack of IP protection in this case allowed other companies to quickly announce plans to produce generic versions of their cream, which put pressure on Turing Pharmaceuticals and Martin Shkreli. The negative publicity and increased competition significantly impacted Turing's revenue and reputation. So, the last but not the least, how intellectual property is used by innovators in the tech space. So, IT plays a crucial role in the success of startups, particularly those that are technology driven or reliant on innovation for their competitive edge. Generally, some importance of intellectual property for technology, which includes protecting innovation, attracting investment, building brand value, and enforcing rights. Here are some specific examples of how IP law is used in the tech space. Patents are used to protect new technologies such as new software algorithms, new hardware designs, and new manufacturing processes. For example, the iPhone, which is produced by Apple, is protected by a number of patents, including patents on its touchscreen technology, its camera technology, and its operating system. So essentially, the iPhone is an innovation in the tech space. If you look at it, whilst other Android device, whilst other companies tend to use Android, Apple on its own has its own separate operating system, which is iOS. You wouldn't see any other phone using the iOS. It's specifically for Apple. The copywriter is also an example of an IP asset that is used to protect that is used innovators work in the tech space. Okay, that will be all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Mariam, for the presentation. Well done. Thank you, Ms. Yogene, for helping her to share screen. Well done, groups. I want to see reactions from their group members saying a job well you did with the presentation. Before we move to that section for today, that is the question and answer. We just want our mentors make comments on their presentations. So going Professor Samuel, sir. So sir, what are your thoughts and observations based on the presentation they made? Hello, sir. Professor Samuel. So are you still with us?
Sorry. Can you hear me now? I forgot to unmute.
Yes.
Yeah. So I great presentation, like I said, very great, wonderful. I just want to make few comments on the areas I feel that the scholars should address their mind further in their research and or in their learning, because those areas, in my opinion, it's not black and white, and especially the laws have changed.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us?
Not one source, so many areas, especially read from the reputable researchers in the area. So the area of fashion, I want to draw attention to something in the area of fashion. Fashion has been an area of in intellectual property until recently. It's always been controversial. Which is the best practice? Meaning, which is the best law? The principal law, like I say, or like I always say, the controlling law.
Sir, you seem to be having a little bit of network issues. Sir, can you hear us, sir? Hello, sir. Can you hear us? Well, I don't know. I think Professor Samuel rather, his network isn't so good. So maybe we would later on have him still make his comments on the presentation and some observations that he has. But before we go on,
I don't know what's wrong with my network.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Now
let me take the video off. Let me take the video off. Let's see. Let me take the
hello, sir. Are you still with us, sir?
Oh, are you hearing me? I'm surrounded by 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can hear you now, sir.
With you?
Yes, sir. We are here with us, sir.
Okay, I'll take the video off.
Yes, sir.
So let's look at fashion briefly. Fashion. So we like I said, copyright is creativity, creations, patent, is innovation technology. Okay, so when you are dealing with fashion, copyright strictly does not deal with ideas or does not deal with functional values or aspects. So fashion mostly is about functionality, you know. So, however, there's a merger somewhere where you have designs, literary drawings, and paintings on clothes. Okay, so is copyright, or should copyright protect those kind of stuff? Because the major thing about fashion is more of functionality. So you have to be careful as a scholar, which is your best strategy, because at the bottom end, we are talking of protecting your IP. So you don't want to lose your intellectual property because you are using the wrong strategy. So since we already have laws, basically in the forte of fashion, like trademarks, like designs, so I would suggest that principally you should look at those controlling laws, and the best laws are those laws that you should go for. Then that's my own opinion on fashion and work strategy. And on the other side of it, we talk about moral rights. Okay, so short statement: moral right is not copyright. Okay, moral right is not copyright. That's the reality. It sounds controversial, but that's the reality. Every literature, every law supports it. Moral rights is a sui generis law. It's a sui generis regime. So you got to be careful when you are talking about IP. Don't mention moral right with copyright, because the laws of copyright does not necessarily protect moral right. Moral right has its own laws. In all, moral right it's an invention, let me put it that way, of the global south, of the developing economy. Even America necessarily has not really accepted moral right fully in their IP laws, except in one area, the viral arts, visual artist rights. So, but if you look at Europe and Africa, we really in all our IP laws, well, moral rights are embedded in the statute of copyright. Some sections of statutes of copyright, they include moral rights, but they are really distinct from because moral rights, like one of the presenters said, the mentees, talks about attributions, integrity, and all that stuff. Mostly two aspects of our rights. So that's what I want to make there. And the last one is about the issue of our creativity and innovativeness that plays in all fronts. That it is placed with copyright, it plays with patent. Why do people really? Why is copyright really interested in software now? It's all about strategy, because the duration of copyright is 70 years in some countries, Nigeria included. Some countries like Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, that's 50 years. America is 70 years. So if you use copyright to protect your codes, your programs, your software, you're going to maximize and leverage the economic benefits of that. But if you use patents to protect the software or the program, you see, you're going to have only 20 years benefits before it falls into the public domain. But most of the time, you can, with good strategy by patent lawyers, you can protect some part of the software or program with patent, and some parts because we all know that software has been accepted as a literary work in almost all laws of IP. The point I just want to add to what you've done, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure coming around and spending time with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you always for your time. Thank you for how much you do for us, sir. I would like to also, we would like to have Mrs. or Miss rather, Mrs. Navana Tor. Okay, it seems she's no longer on call. Okay, she is. Miss Navana Tor. Please, Ma, can you come on stage and give what will I say now? Give your observations and your input on.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, Ma. We can hear you, Ma.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't hear you. I don't hear you well. Could you
Okay,
repeat the question, please? Yes. Sorry, I don't hear you.
Okay.
Say something. Yeah?
Yes, Ma. We're asking for your observations and contributions based on the presentations that were made.
As I told you before, it was very interesting topics. Especially, it's new. It's not popular to talk about IP fashion, especially, which is I saw it's very interesting, and we should make more research on this topic, especially from my point of view. I say that it needs more research, readings, even communication and discussion about IP fashion, because it's not known for all people, even in the IP world, because I remember one of my meeting in my last job, and we are talking about IP. So I give an example about the IP fashion. So some people in the IP world, they are very surprised, and they ask me, "What is there is IP fashion? There is fashion related to IP." So it's not known, and the fashion didn't take it's real. How to say, it's real value in the IP world. So we need to learn and read more and have more presentations. So I appreciate students who make these presentations very, very good. And we need, all of us, even me, we need to have more knowledge about the IP fashion, especially.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
Ma.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
We'd like ask Mentor make his own contributions on the presentation that we made, Mr. Yes, sir, we can. Yes, sir, are you with us, Mr. Nosa?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I've listened to it, and I think to a large extent, Prof has done a very thorough job. Our comments, I'm sure you know, are not expected to be judgmental, because we have not agreed on the parameters for which we are to analyze their presentations. Normally, when you do such things and you want contributions to be form part of your decision as to who has done best, there are really several parameters you should set for. But one thing I'm very glad about is that the two parties, the two presenters, did a very wonderful job. Both of them had clear knowledge of the subject matter in terms of what intellectual property is and the levels, I mean, what it actually covers. At least that is a plus. But I would just like to say that in my own case, what I normally would advise is charity, they say, begins at home. And because IP is also territorial, that means it's a bit local, though it is very international in terms of scope. And that's why you have people from India, from Zambia, from everywhere to speak about it. And IP is one of the areas of law that the provisions for intellectual property are almost global in nature, because what is copyright in India is what is copyright in America. So, but I normally tell people that let's try and be more localized with our examples and with our illustrations, especially for Nigerians, where we still have a lot of work to do in terms of intellectual property. In India, for example, intellectual property is very, very developed. Same with the US, same with so many other places. But in Nigeria, it's still an emerging area of law, even though we spend like 30 years on it now. But so I always like mentees to pick more of their case studies from local. So I will not quickly rush to Google and rush to other case studies. I would do more of my local, though I know that there are limitations as to whether you are going to be able to get enough materials and case studies. But it's much, much better now. It's much, much better now. We've had landmark cases of MTN, Airtel, ringtones. We've had a lot of cases of copyright in recent times. We've had a lot of judgments along the IP line. So I would want the two teams to use more of Nigerian case studies and network within the industry to be able to get those cases to use to embellish their presentations. But having said that, I think both teams did very well. Like I said, I don't want to be judgmental because I don't have the parameters by which you would want to assess them. But I think both of them have done very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment, sir. We would like to go to our question and answer segment. I'm sure this is like one of the very, very important aspects of us or these sections where we have mentees based on the research and the works that they have done, come up with questions, things that they seem to not have certain clarity on as regards the topic, and come and ask mentors and to the mentors best the best of the mentors ability, they can give certain levels of clarity to those matters. So we'd like to have our mentees come up. You can raise your hand, you can indicate by raising your hand, you can send your questions. We'd like you ask questions any place where the section, any of the mentors you had a little issue with some of the things discussed and you want questions, you can go ahead. This is your time that. So we want to have live questions now. Is there anyone who has a question he wants to ask? All right, I can see two people's hand up. Let's start with Pupola. You can go ahead and ask.
Okay, thank you, Mr. William. Good evening, everyone. So my question is directed towards Mr. Nosakari. When he talked about software codes, he said that software codes are more like literary works, but he said that the hardware aspect of them are referred to as patents. So I want him to please shed more light on the hardware aspects of software codes.
Mr. The question is directed to you, sir.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, so you want to know which aspects of the computer that can be governed by patents? Is that the question?
No, sir. What I was asking is that software, they are usually
Speak louder, please speak louder.
Okay, sir. So I I was talking about software codes. Like, software usually on the computer, they're not in hardware form. Do you understand me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to know that you said that the software codes they are referred to as literary works, but you said that there are some hardware components of it that you can
Okay.
refer to as patents. So I wanted to know, like, what are those hardware components in the context
So
of software?
no, don't get yourself too academic or too. There are two aspects of computer, even AI itself. There is the programming side, there's the coding side. There's the side where you write out what you want to impute in your computer and the codes, even the open source and many other things. Those are generally referred to as the soft side, the software. And those ones are generally categorized as literature because they are like things you can transmit to people. It's like instead of speaking English language, you are writing Swahili language. The only thing is that these are languages that are understood by the computer, but they are still languages. So those ones are covered by copyright. But then, if you now invent any part of the computer system in terms of its actual components that now is able to transmit these messages you are passing into several other outputs. But it has to be a hardware. A computer has a motherboard, it has so many things involved. I'm not a scientist, but every day you will notice that your computer system, for example, you have Intel, you have so many aspects that make the computer work. I'm saying that if you're able to come up with something along the component itself that makes the computer function more, and it's a new thing, it's a new concept, it's a new process, it is an improvement on an existing process to ensure that the computer language or whatever you enter are able to give better outputs in terms of the total functionality of computer. Yes, it can be patented, but it must satisfy all the criteria for patent. It must be new, it must be an invention, it must be capable of industrial application. So the criteria for patenting is totally different from the criteria for copywriting. But stricto sensu, once it is something that can be readable, copyable, do every other thing in terms of language or whatever, that automatically falls under copyright. They will never patent it for you, at least in Nigeria. But if you deal with the hardware and all those chips and everything, and you are able to come up with something that is ingenious and it meets the parameters for patenting, definitely you'll be giving your patent. Yes.
Thank you, sir. You've answered my question.
All
I
right.
hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for answering that question. We'll go to the next person who is indicating. Grace Sample, please, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Williams. Good evening to all our mentors. So my question is related to IP and literary works as well as IP and film. So in a scenario, let's say there's a scenario where a movie was produced in a particular year, let's say in 1990, and then years later, a book was later produced, probably not, as part of that movie. Then upon re-release of the movie, in like 10 years after the movie was released by the firm or company that owns the movie, they released the movie. And then someone else discovered that the movie was re-released based off on his own book that he has written a few years after the initial release date. So, sir, in that scenario, is it like, would one say it's an infringement based on the person's book, or is it like passing off because the person had released his book after the first release date, and then the movie was now released after his own book had been published? So I don't know. It's more like a scenario where one is like, I'm confused if one can term that as passing off, or if one can say there has been infringement of the person's book that was published, because the movie was only released after his own book was published. So can one say it's an infringement, being that his own book, the movie was based on his own book, or can one say that it's passing off on the fact that he had only published his book after the first release date of the movie? I don't know if my question is clear.
Okay, thank you for that question, Grace. We would like to have Professor Samuel. Sir, if you can, please, can you go ahead and help us with that, with maybe an answer to the question, sir?
If I understand the question, you're talking about on published literary work, which is the book, as against a published artistic work, which is a movie. So, first of all, joining with Mr. Nosa, the benefits of registration. But for caution, registration does not grant you copyright. Let's get that now. Registration of your copyright or your work does not grant you. It's a strategy, like Mr. Nosa said, to give notice that something has been done. So in the case of this you just mentioned, confusion in terminology. Passing off does not come in here. When you are talking of passing off, you are going into the territories of all common law of trademarks, and so let us stay with the proper terminologies. We are talking of infringement. Now, it's common knowledge that copyright attaches when once the work is created. So let's assume that this book was created before the movie was created. So if the work, the book was created, this the day you start writing the book, as long as eligibility rules, it attaches to a platform, a tangible platform, and all those common knowledge of it. Then copyright attaches. So if this book was published, whether it was created, whether it was published or not, then it therefore means that the book, the author of that owned the copyright in that. Now, the second stage is what time it happens in real life. There's a lot of cases like this in real life. Perhaps, let's assume, purposes of this answer, that the creators of the movie never read the book, never knew about the book. Okay? They now created the movie. So if you go now into the territory of litigation, where the court would use the doctrines of substantial copyright rules, whether who saw what. But there's not really straight answer to this kind of scenario. It's going to be based on a lot of evidence. But on what I would say, on a third answer, it will be, and if the authors or the owners of the movie actually copied the storyline, the ideas that of a book that has already been written, that's classic infringement. So that would be classic infringement, because if you had written a script, you've written a story, you've written a novel, and then there's a movie that came, even though not published the book yet to the market, and a movie came up based on that your book, and it infringes all the elements of that book, the storyline, the everything there. Oh well, yeah, it's I remember the story of the case that Mr. Nosa said, cover story, cover theory. I don't know how many of you follow that case, you know, of cover theory. It's one of the cases in Nigeria that dealt with this kind of situation. It was settled by the Federal High Court a few years back. So yes, that would be my answer. There could be an infringement there. There could be, maybe Mr. Nasraf might chip in a little bit there.
Okay, sir, please, can you come with the name of the case again?
The case was based on the movie of Carter's Theory. Well, what's the name of this producer? She's a popular producer, but just Google. Okay, it's not only free source. You'll see the case online, and I cited it in one of my articles I wrote. You know, one of those articles I gave you there is there. I wrote about it. The section on it, yeah, it's there. If you look at one of those articles I published, I think the one that talks about the curriculum change about Nigerian universities, I dealt with it a lot in purpose theory. That was that this kind of scenario came up, but not exactly that those kind of scenarios.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering that question. Okay. Are there more questions? Okay, before we take more live questions, I would like to direct this question on chat box to Ms. Navana. The question is copyright registrable or not? From Victoria Pupola. Is copyright registrable or not?
Copyright is what? Sorry, because it's very loud. Just a minute, I will.
Okay, let me
yes.
again. Right, registrable or not?
Stable?
Yes, is it registrable or not?
Copyright?
Yes, ma'am. That's the question.
It depends, you know, copyright, especially it depends on the country, on the regulation and rules of each country, because some countries, once the book is finished, for example, and the author finishes the book, has finished, it's and it's published, so it's no need for registration and it was protected. Other country, you know, there is rules and regulations in the law, in the IP law especially, for the protection. We should protect it through the authority specialized in the culture and copyright protection. But I think that most of developing countries should protect their copyright, because there is many infringement in this field, especially because there is no strong systems for protection like in arts, in patents, in other industrial properties. So especially the copyright and related rights. From my point of view, it's better to be protected. It's better, you know, not just as I finish my book, so I published it will be automatically registered. No, I think that there is we should apply rules here and protect it through the authority and be authorized and legal protection. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Are there still more questions? Are there still more questions? Okay, it seems there are no other questions. But before we go, I think I myself would like to ask a question. Mr. Nosa mentioned during his own section that how that copyrights can be used as collateral. In the case someone maybe takes a loan, you can use your copyrights, your intellectual property rights, as collateral. In a case where someone uses his intellectual property as collateral and the resulting, how I put it, the resulting market or the money that comes out from that particular work doesn't meet up to the particular amount that the person takes up in loans. What are some of the things the loan, let's say the loan party now can do to regain its lost money?
Okay, so this is how it works. In the first place, there's a valuation process. That is a bit of an advanced form of, you might not understand it, but for example, let me try and do it this way so that you understand it. It's now a mandatory requirement for every financial statement of every company to state the tangible and intangible assets. That means if you look at the financial statement of multinationals, they always have a line there that talks about their intellectual property. So what does that mean? It shows their goodwill in the market. It shows their logo. It shows how do people assess them in the market. And so it is this assessment in the market, and there are about three methods of valuing IP. So it's not just a system of saying that, so let's take a brand like Coca-Cola, for example. I want to ask you, if you are the branch man, if you are the manager of a bank, and Coca-Cola comes to meet you and says he wants to borrow 300 million, will you not give Coca-Cola the money? I'm just asking a question.
Yes, I would, sir.
You will. So,
yes,
and that is just at the face value. But I'm telling you that anybody that wants to give Coca-Cola money and they want to use their brand equity, they want to use their goodwill, they want to use their intangible asset as security, will do a proper evaluation that as of today, what is the worth of the Coca-Cola brand? And they will put naira and figures to it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So when, let's say, for example, for the purpose of this discussion, Coca-Cola's worth in Nigeria in terms of their goodwill and equity and their intangible asset is about 400 billion. As a bank manager, if you give a loan of 1 billion naira, is it likely to go sour?
No, it won't. Most likely not.
It's not. So it is like any other banking transaction. The bank will never give you money that they are not sure that you can pay back. And when they equally look at some of the other assets that you also have, both your tangible and intangible assets together, they know that if push comes to shove and they have to do whatever they have to do with it, they can take over the Coca-Cola company now. Is that not so? And
Yes,
begin
sir.
to sell the Coca-Cola brand. Is it not possible?
Very possible, sir.
Is it not possible?
Yes, sir, it's very
possible. It's possible. So what I'm trying to say is that the way they look at the way you use your houses and the other things, and it's okay, if I have to amortize the value of all these things, I'll be able to get out of it in case there is a default. They also do the same thing. In fact, the principle is that when you're even giving a loan to somebody, you have already looked at it that whatever the person puts down is enough for you to be able to recover that loan. That is one of the principles by which a loan is approved. and they will make sure that they follow you and track everything. Do you understand what I'm saying? To make sure that you don't sell off those values, you don't depreciate those values, because that is from where. So if you use your intangible property to secure a loan, the bank will take it as their responsibility to make sure that you don't drop the ball. They also begin to look at when they can pull out, because if your brand is going totally down and they are looking at the value of your brand based on all those parameters that I said, they will call off the loan. Do you understand? The same way they will call off your normal loan. So all the things that apply, they also apply. The only thing is that they place a lot of value on the intangible brand, because they know that the name of a product alone can even start another business. And I'll tell you, I have a friend many years ago. There's not just loan, there are many financial instruments you can get, or let me say business instruments you can get with a name. My friend, in the 70s, when you probably would not know, there was something called indigenization decree by Obasanjo. So a lot of the multinational firms in Nigeria, they left because the government insisted that the firms, all the multinational firms must be headed by Nigerians, and Nigerians must have the controlling businesses. Unlike now that anybody can come and set up business here. So most of the multinationals sold off and left. That was in the 70s. They left the businesses for Nigerians and went back to their country. So in the 90s, my friend who is a pharmacist, there were some drugs that were being used at that time that were very popular. They were very popular brands. I mean, this, I'm talking specifically about the children brand. It was a very popular brand for children. I think maybe Titin powder or something like that. Very popular. But they left Nigeria and the brand just went down and died. But when this, my friend, went back, my friend went in the 90s to secure the trademarks. He actually went to the owners in the UK and bought the trademarks of them to come and reestablish the company in Nigeria, because he actually worked for that company when he was doing his youth corps. Do you know that when he brought back the name of that company, I'll try and remember the company. He brought back the name, hired a warehouse. He did not have any money at all. And because he had worked in that company before, he started to trace the people that were supplying them materials to produce. You will not believe it that suppliers and vendors were giving him materials to produce that drug on credit, based on the popularity of the name. That if people begin to hear about these products again, the goodwill that followed that product, then they were going to buy. And exactly that was what happened. The moment he reintroduced that drug back into the market, all the former people that have been working for the company, the suppliers, the banks, everything that had been working for the company before, they came back. And he told them that he only has the name, he doesn't have the money. And they actually gave him support. And the business, the company is back to business now, supplying, using the trade name and the trademark, everything that was there in the 70s. So you can enjoy suppliers' credit, you can enjoy loans. Even your name does a lot in terms of mergers and acquisition. If you look at when Diamond Bank and the Access meshed, if you look at the present logo of Diamond Bank now, I mean of Access Bank, it looks more of the Diamond Bank of old, because the Diamond Bank had a very strong brand, very strong logo. And that is why you see that even though they had bought over Diamond Bank, but the bank almost still looks like the diamond, because the logo is still there, everything is still there. The same thing with Udala and Konga. Udala had more money, they were the parent company, they bought over Konga. But instead of using the name Udala, they decide to use the name Konga for the business because the name Konga is very, very strong. It's much more stronger than Udala. I don't want to go into all this, but suffice it to say that when you have a strong trademark and you have a strong trade name and you have a strong logo and every other thing, you can borrow anything and you will get away with it. But have your integrity. I won't want you to go with the mindset that you borrow money with your intellectual property and the company will go under. No, there's a valuation process and they follow it through the same way they follow your normal loan processes. And hardly it will go so. I want to end by saying that one of the ways you can monetize your intellectual property is through merchandising. So if Jiipcc has 10,000 people that are linked to your mentorship, go and print t-shirts and sell to all of them in the name of Jiipcc so that you can make money from your intellectual property. Am I making any sense?
Yes, sir, you are, sir.
How many people do you have? You must have about 10,000 people now, have you? As your mentees.
Towards that number, sir.
Don't give them free t-shirt to let them buy. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So one of the ways you can make money from your intellectual property is through merchandising. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. You get, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for that wonderful answer to that question. I want to thank all our mentors for taking out and sparing out their 2 hours plus of their time to be here with us and to talk about the topic intellectual property for creatives and inventors. Before we end the class for today, we would just like to have a little picture time. Sorry we didn't do that earlier. Over here it's getting very dark, so I don't know if it's possible for us to have our mentees turn on their videos so that we can take a quick picture and then call it a day. All right, please, can we have more people turn on their videos so that we can take the picture for today and then call it a day? Right. Thank you very much. We've come to the end of today's class. I'm sure you learned a thing or two on the topic for today. We want to thank Professor Samuel, Ms. Nirvana Talk, and then Mr. Nosa for their time. We want to thank them for their efforts. Our other mentors that were not able to join us, I'm sure something must have come up for them to not be here, like Mrs. Arun said, we'll be getting her presentation. So later on today, we'll be posting her material, her presentation, her PowerPoint presentation in your group so that you can have access to.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
Dennis, how are you? No, I'm listening to you. Are we going to have a photo together?
Yes, ma'am, you can still turn on your camera. Let's have a photo.
Yes, I'm here.
But your video is not on. It's not turned on.
Just a minute. Yes, I will open the video camera. Yes.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So like I said, we've come to the end of today's meeting. Please kindly share what you have learned online. I want to see you tag our mentors, tag them, say something about what they have shared today. Thank you very much, sirs. Thank you very much, mentees. We appreciate everything you do for us. We wish everyone here a lovely night's rest. Please do all have a lovely night.